leading up here.
I'm starving. This is a good show. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Great show tonight. Our next performance is tomorrow afternoon, 1:30 half, 2 o'clock curtain. Have a good night.
What a great way to kick off our festival. What an amazing collection of shorts. Let's give a round of applause. Now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Matt Stees, the director and DP of En Plein Air, Jane Brill, the director of Jason McLean Boomerang Smile, Jason McLean himself, the subject and artist of Jason McLean Boomerang Smile, Xavier St. Roche, director of Daddy's Final Sale, Sean Williams, the writer and an actor in Daddy's Final Sale, Erin Brandenburg, the director of The Wreck of Harold Murphy, Ron Leary, the musician and subject in The Wreck of Harold Murphy, and Peter Pasek, the director and writer of The Understudy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are so happy to have you here. So how the Q&A is going to take place is I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then we're going to throw it to the audience if we have time, and they can take the floor and ask you questions as well. So my first question is, of course, this collection of shorts, the run-through is very much artistry and artists. So how did the artists you were depicting, from Alfred Villeneuve in En Plein Air to Tom Rooney in The Understudy, how did they shape the story you were telling, and how did that factor into your filmmaking? So Matt, I'll start with you.
Hello. Well, when I met Alfred, from the moment that he started telling me about himself, I knew he was just different, and there was something about how he viewed life and art, and his life was dedicated to creating, and I don't think I've ever met anyone that saw creativity and art in that way. And when he told me how long he's been creating art and his 30 days in July, I knew that there's something here that I need to explore. And I asked him, can I make a film about you? And he was a very private person, and he was very humble. And he said, well, I've never really wanted to be, I wanted my art to be the focus, not me as the artist, but maybe it's time to tell my story. So we went on a canoe trip, and the whole point of the film was to just be a fly on the wall for his artistic process. And it was just, as a friend, as a filmmaker, was, it was an experience. And now, especially that he has passed away, to tell his story to the world that's my job, I guess, because he was too humble to do it for himself. And so yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes on a special meaning that he's memorialized forever in his favorite place through your film. So thank you for that. Jane and Jason.
I'm sorry, can you ask the question?
For sure. So how did the artist you were depicting, who was Jason, you were following his journey, how did he shape the film that ended up being made?
Yeah, I think Jason's process completely shaped the film that I made about Jason. Jason is a hard, he's got so much going on inside, and it was hard to pick what exactly to follow about his process, you know. But I think like my feeling of success of the film was to actually capture his authentic process, which was it's very internal, but it's also outside, you know, and very random sometimes. I don't even know if I'm an expert on Jason, but yeah, I think it was very much, you know, learning who he was and finding that in the film as I was editing.
Yeah, for sure. It almost feels like we're mind mapping his journey as well as an audience. Okay, Erin and Ron.
Yeah, I'd say the film is like semi, if not all, biographical of Ron. But like for me, the really special thing is Ron was writing that song while we were filming. So it was really like getting to kind of document that process, that creative process of like struggling to work through something, hearing these snippets of beauty, and then trying to capture it and see what, and then the struggles with that, which is what we were trying to do with the film.
Yeah. Xavier and Sean.
Hello. Okay. I think so. We Xavier and I are members of a sketch comedy production company. We you know, we often meet and we chat about ideas that we're considering shooting, and I think it's a relatable thing for most artists, where certain life events they try to find how they can channel that into their work. And I mean, I guess because we shoot for comedy, we thought, what would be the most tragic thing that we try to turn on its head, let's say. And it was just sort of a conversation we had that we thought would be funny. And Xavier, I find Xavier to be a tremendous director, and he's very good at channeling like all of our ideas into kind of like a, you know, and like just bringing them all together, especially on the day. So yeah.
Yeah, the film is filled with so many, like if you've ever been on a film set, you will be laughing at every single joke. So that was incredible. Peter.
Hi. Thanks for having us here. This is very cool to be here at this film festival and with all you folks. So I'm a theater director as well, and so this very much comes from real life experience, what I've observed in the theater, and the film was really kind of an ode to the people that do some of the unsung work in the theater, and there's a kind of a glorious public-facing part of that, and then there's all the stuff that happens behind the scenes, and I mean, the understudies in particular have such a crazy task to be ready at any moment, and you know, this film, it's a fictional film, but it's not, you know, hyperbole. Like, I've heard crazier stories. So it really comes from that. Tom Rooney, who's a leading actor, who also has done understudying work in his day, obviously brings all of that experience to the film too.
Yeah, for sure. I think the soundtrack especially, you're like feeling the jitters as he is on screen. So my next question to you is, of course, as filmmakers, you bring your own artistry to the table, you bring your own previous experiences. So how has your own journey shaped the story you were telling? And now I'm gonna throw it back to you, Peter, again, and we'll go this way.
Well, I guess, I don't know, I guess I've always, you know, I started out working in film as an actor, and then I went to theater school and trained as a theater actor and became a theater director, and you'd think that directing film and theater, there's a lot of crossover, and there is, of course, in the craft, and, you know, building story arc and stuff, but they're also such siloed worlds in another way, and the process is so different. This project was really kind of out of my desire to try to bridge those worlds, let my two lovers meet. So it was special because I got to bring on you know, a number of film professionals, obviously, but also we shot at the Stratford Film Fest, festival in Stratford, and I had a whole bunch of theater professionals to help us out, like the specificity of like the wig application and all that stuff was, you know, we were very lucky to have really skilled, you know, artisans on the project.
Yep, you're so sure they're so different. Like it's a Venn diagram with almost like commonalities, but wide differences for sure. Xavier and Sean.
It's actually funny. So Darius, who plays like my counterpart in ours, him and I met at the theater school at the University of Windsor, which has a very, it's kind of rooted in classical training. And when Tom Rooney and Tyron Savage appeared, I was like, oh, no way, that's so sick. I'm big fans of those guys. We started, alongside Xavier, we started our company, Friendly Fire, because I always thought there was not a disconnect, but I feel like filmmakers and crew people don't know actors and vice versa. So oftentimes, our primary goal was let's build a company that isn't all actors or all film people and bring them together. So we have Xavier, obviously we have Isaac, who's Darius's brother, who's a central part of our company. Jason Bergen somewhere is here, I think. He's not here. And then Sam, who is he plays the guy that's dad dies. So he is also. We met him at theater school, and we just wanted to marry the two, I guess. Yeah.
Erin and Ron.
Yeah, so our film is filmed on location on Peely Island, which is a really special place to me. It's kind of a place I've been going kind of my whole life, and one where Ron's been and connected and has a deep relationship with, and Henry Adam Svek, who wrote the script. We've all kind of been, you know, affected by this place, and also it's a place where there's a lot of artists and people trying to figure things out. So the film was also kind of trying to capture what it's like to be there and trying to like find some inspiration and find some creativity, which is, you know, definitely, I think we've both been, do you want to talk about that? Okay, you're good.
Fantastic job.
Yeah, so it's sort of, it's about a character and about his process and journey, but it's also about this special place and the kind of weird synchronicities that can sometimes happen there. When we were there filming, our last day of filming, there was a giant tornado and storm, lightning storm, and the whole island flooded. So when he's plunging the toilet in the last scene, it's actually like there's the entire, it's all flooded at that point, so yeah.
It's the highs and lows of filmmaking on an island. Thank you for that story. Jason and Jane.
Jason is I started a series, and this is the second film in the series of artist portraits, short artist portraits, and you know, I'm a big admirer of Jason's, so it wasn't, you know, just understanding his process was what fascinated me, and what fascinates me about doing stories about artists, and you know, really sort of intimately understanding their choices, and you know, it somehow makes me not feel alone. And
Almost it's like an artist statement when, Jason, you're standing there and you're explaining where your work comes from and every single detail in the documentary. So that's very interesting to hear about for sure. Matt?
Well, as a filmmaker, I think the main focus of my work is about exploring the human connection with nature, and all the stories that find me. I don't think it works the other way around. That's what it's about. It's exploring how the land shapes our emotions and our cultures and our survival. And I think when I started making the film, there wasn't a trajectory. There's just a starting point. And I think the beautiful thing about sometimes stepping back is letting the story tell itself. And yeah, magic happens sometimes. And in some ways, I feel like that's kind of what this film, you know, Alfred Alfred had a chance to be himself. And I think that's kind of for me as a filmmaker, I don't want to get in the way of whatever the spirit in the film is. And so that's where I feel yeah, hopefully I captured that.
It reflects the art of like end plein air painting almost, right? It's like being in nature and letting that guide your storytelling. Okay, thank you. Now I'm gonna give the floor to the audience. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll point to you and you can shout out your question and I'll relay it for our panelists. So if we can does anyone have any questions? Yes, they're at the back.
Yeah, hi. I mean, I think we knew, like I knew when writing the thing that I wanted to have a kind of propulsive energy to it. Like, you know, when it's kind of a crisis moment when an actor is called last minute for an understudy replacement. You know, it's all hands on deck. It's a real rush. It's an adrenaline rush, and so I was trying to be very economical, you know, in how those scenes unfolded. So I would really say it was in the script, you know, from the get-go, and up until like a couple weeks before shooting, there was a couple of scenes that were in there that I felt ultimately actually slowed things down, and I just sort of wanted to build the chaos of the thing, including, you know, losing his granddaughter along the way. So, yeah, you know, in my mind, I mean, I know it doesn't read that way, but in my mind, I was like, it has to have a kind of a thriller propulsion to it, you know, and that was sort of my secret task in my head, to keep it moving. Yeah, thanks for your question.
Thank you for that. That is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for your time and for your beautiful films. Just a reminder, these films do qualify for the Old Oak Audience Choice Award and the Fan Favorite Award, so make sure you rip off your ballot and drop it in a bin outside as you exit. Again, thank you so much for coming, and I hope you enjoy lots more films throughout the festival.
We're in Toronto. Okay. But there's someone from Windsor here? Thanks. We went to school in Windsor.
I fail again this time, I might just stray out of line. I'm not trying to be a prophet, I'm just trying to speak my mind.
Welcome to the first feature film of the 10th annual Forest City Film Festival. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to be here. I'm Dorothy Downs. I'm the executive director and founder of this festival, and it's my pleasure to introduce these films and welcome you to our event. So if you've lived in southwestern Ontario for the past few months, you have probably heard of We Lend a Hand, the forgotten story of Ontario farmerettes. This documentary has been played in countless cities and towns and rural community centers and festivals, and we are so honored to have this as our first feature film of the festival. Many people have been to multiple screenings, so the filmmaker really loves to reward those multiple screening people and give them a poster. So if we can just raise the house lights just slightly, and if anybody has been to a multiple screening, put your hand up nice and high, and the filmmaker's going to come around and give you a poster. So, yes. Now, if you haven't seen this film but want to join that second time club, there is another screening of this on Saturday, November 1st at 7 p.m. over at Imagine Cinemas. So come on back and tell your friends, bring a crowd. So we've paired our first feature film with a short film, Beyond the Fields, a truly heartwarming short documentary about Ontario farmers. We thought it was a really good match, who have dedicated their lives to preserving and being a part of the environment, as well as serving their communities. Both of these films qualify for the Old Oak Audience Choice Award, so please remember to vote and deposit your ballot on the way out the door. And before we start, I have a few people I also need to thank. On behalf of the festival. We would like to thank XRM Media, our presenting partner for the Forest City Film Festival, for their support. Yes, thank you. They are very supportive of emerging filmmakers, and film festivals like ours are right up their alley, so we really appreciate that. And Film London, our presenting partner for the Ontario Screen Creators Conference, which is happening. Thank you. So this festival is also supported by the London Arts Council through the City of London, London's Community Arts Investment Program. And we are so grateful to the Wolf Performance Hall and the London Public Library for embracing our festival for the past 10 years. Yes. So we would not be able to bring this event to you without the help of, 38 sponsors altogether. So please look through the program. At the back of the program, you'll see if you come across anybody in any of those companies, please thank them. They're so important to bringing this festival to London. Without them, each ticket would be $90. So they're making it affordable for all of us. So now it's time to enjoy the first feature, a short film, followed by the first feature film of the Forest City Film Festival. Thank you all for being here, and afterwards there will be a fantastic Q&A, so don't rush off.
Crazy. It's art, honestly.
Schitt's Creek. David.
Trailer Park Boys. Why are you wasting the cards?
Nobody can tell our stories quite like we can.
Wait. They're Canadian? Exactly, right?
This is an exploration of who we are.
Who we are.
In the millions of ways that could exist. I'm George Strombolopoulos, and these are the stories that made us.
Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on.
Do you love movies? Letterboxd is the perfect place to discover, explore, rate, review, and make lists of your favorite movies. Get Letterboxd today.
Oh, yeah, Beachcombers.
Anne with an E? La guerre des tucs. La guerre, c'est pas une raison pour se faire mal.
Let's be honest, this country's been telling great stories since, well, before it was even a country.
Indigenous people, you know, we're storytellers. I'm making this, middle fingers up, watch me.
Canadian stories, they don't fit in a box. So this is the home of the Beachcombers, the spiritual home of Canadian television. This is an exploration of who we are.
Who we are.
In the millions of ways that could exist. What a trip. What a trip. I'm George Stroumboulopoulos, and these are the stories that made us.
Thank you.
Keep going. We built this barn in 2011, but we were milking with my uncle on the corner before we got started here. And yeah, I've just grown up in it and around cows. So. Dad passed away in December, so now it's just me and Amanda here. So it's been a bit of an adjustment this year. But we're doing it.
About 15 years ago, I was going through quite a period of inner turmoil and depression. And then I found growing food and putting my hands in the soil and working outside. And it was a complete balm for my soul. And so for me, it's connection. Connecting with nature, connecting with others, connecting with myself. I don't grow on the scale that somebody would think of when they think of farmer. So I'm on maybe an acre, which is just smaller, and I grow multiple different crops. So for me, the term market gardener would be, I guess, more appropriate. But even that, I don't know. I grow food, period.
We've got about 9.5 acres of apple trees, which consists of probably 1,900 trees or so. When I should be retiring, I guess, and selling the farm or whatever, that's when our son came in, and he had a good job, but he thought he'd like to continue, and I wanted him to continue onto the farm because it is a good life. I grew up on this farm. Our 4 kids grew up on this farm, and his kids are growing up on this farm. It's great to see my grandkids on the farm here and enjoying it as much as that I did when I was a kid. You know, it was a lot of fun. A lot of hard work when you get older, but it's fun.
I think any time that you step on a farm, that has been created to link land and water and people. You feel that. And because food is something that brings us all together. It's one thing we all love to do. I mean, we didn't start this farm as a farm. We started it as a place to connect people to the land and the water and to help people love the world that they live in and love the community. But the word that we fell upon, and it actually does describe what we do here, is regenerative. While we're growing this wonderful food, which is helping to regenerate people and regenerate interest in food and farming, is also regenerating the soil that it grows in. So the food is helping the lake, helping the land, helping people, and helping life.
We are at Loretto Mary Home, and we have 3 hives from HiveShare sitting behind me that they graciously allowed me to put on their property. HiveShare was started so that I could get more hives. It was a way that I could fund more colonies without having the initial outlay of cash. So it's gone extremely well. It's still going well. There's many times that I'm working with the bees that I forget they're insects. I do consider them friends, that we're in this together. I'll look after you, you look after me. I have many, many hives that I don't take anything from. I don't take any honey or pollen or anything from them. I just make sure that they survive. To tell me that they're insects and they have 6 legs and an exoskeleton and all that other stuff, it's like, yeah, I guess I really know that. But to me, I've open up a hive and I've got 50,000 of my closest friends. Which sounds really stupid, but it's true. That is true. That's the way I feel.
The kids are too young to really know what they want to do yet. It's a big time commitment. Have to be here every day to feed and milk. So it's a bit tricky for vacations or outings or anything like that. But it's a good life. And it's just nice raising a family on a farm. The kids really don't realize it yet. But when they grow up, they'll appreciate it.
It's not something that I think you can push on people. You've got to really love it, because you will not succeed at farming if you do not want to be here. It's not a day job. It is a lifestyle. We'll fully admit to that. You're constantly learning. There's a lot of things that you do the old way too, because there's a tried and tested reason for it, but there's always new things to learn, which is really neat. Like, you're always meeting up with other farmers and always seeing what they're doing and seeing how stuff's going. So it's pretty fun. I better feed these guys too.
Hi, good morning. We're called the Elm Grove Collective. So Hans and Luz Pape, who are the owners of the land, they recognize what a beautiful, magical piece of property this is. So they wanted to open it up to small-scale farmers to share in the beauty here.
Coffee time.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
A lot of sharing. For Hans and myself, this is sort of a retirement project. And the plan was just for the 2 of us to be here and have a quiet retirement. And luckily, it didn't work out that way, because we figured very quickly that social contact is so important. And instead of us going to other places, people come here. So we were very lucky that way. But it's always a little trickier.
It's better to give with a warm hand than with a cold hand. Do it when you're living. Don't wait till you're gone.
Yeah.
Here we are on the shoreline that is adjacent to Clearwater Farm. To me, it says, wow, ain't nature grand. This is a beautiful place on Lake Simcoe, one of the few left where nature has been left alone to create its environment. we're meant to be in nature. We are part of nature. You know, sometimes people think that we have to beat nature back and make a place for people in the world. We are part of the system, and that's why the farm is so exciting and important. It's part of the ecosystem, and people are part of the ecosystem too. This tree here is well over 200 years old. Nobody really knows how old it is. Years ago, pioneer families and indigenous families who used to live on Snake Island, which is just off the shore here, used to meet to trade goods and stories. And this tree is kind of symbolic of everything that goes on at Clearwater Farm. It's a place to collaborate, it's a place to celebrate nature. It's a place for working together, and it just has a special feeling about it.
Today happens to be cider making day at Homestead Orchards. We do it once a week. It's all just fresh apples. And we like to use a variety of apples. We don't use one kind. I think today we probably had 4, maybe 5 different varieties in it, which makes a better cider. Yeah, these are starting to get picked off, but there's still a lot of nice apples here to be picked. This is a nice apple. And this part of the apple where the blossom was is called the eye. Gently in your hand and say eye to the sky, and you go like that and it comes off nice and easy. So that's the way we like to pick the apples. I eat my share. I eat my share, yeah. I don't get sick of them, yeah. People do not realize where their food comes from or how it's growing. A lot of people think that you go to the store and get it. And it's not any fault of theirs. That's why we've sort of thought, let's educate the people as much as we can and how things are growing and things that we have to deal with in our everyday life of growing things, mainly the weather. And there's a lot in the weather. Climate change is definitely here. We're getting more rain now in the wintertime than we are snow. And it's just not normal. And it's really has mucked things up. But we'll have to deal with it when the time comes, when the time is here. So we'll deal with it, and whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. We'll just make the best of it.
The bees contribute to pollinating 1/3 of our food: apples, berries, pumpkins, squash, cucumbers, etc. So if you have a squash farm, if you don't have bees, you're not going to have any squash. Simple as that. The numbers in the past couple of years have been okay, but about 3 years ago, we had the biggest winter death rate in Canada in recorded history. Upwards to 80% of the honeybees died over that winter. And the really upsetting part about all of that is that we don't know why. Unfortunately, we may never know, or we'll know in 50 years why this has happened. We're just trying to scramble like crazy and get the population back up. We see the brood, we know that the hive is doing well. The queen is laying lots of eggs, like here. Lots of eggs, lots of new bees coming. It's all about population. We want 50 to 60 or 70,000 bees in here in the fall, and then through natural attrition, it go down to about 20,000 in the springtime, a totally natural process. If somebody in your life dies, you go and tell it to the bees. And I've done that many times, where you go and sit down and you tell them that a loved one or a friend has passed away. It's important for the bees to know. And it's a way of you getting it off your chest and communicating with nature.
You're feeling the soil, you're hearing the sounds of the birds and the bugs, and you can just feel your whole nervous system settle down into that quiet moment.
yeah, it just brings it all full circle from the growing of it and then the sharing of it. That's also what I believe food is here for, is to connect us together. So yeah, to me it's a beautiful thing.
I feel one of the most important things for the future of the planet is for communities to come together and work together. We can't wait for somebody else to do it. It has to be part of our lives, and connecting with the land is a wonderful place to be in your life.
We're here so the next generation can learn or be better. I want to educate people. Again, we're not here to take, we're here to give back. And that's my little itsy bitsy bit to try to give back, to try to help people get along a little bit more.
If we take a positive view, we look at the positive things that are happening today and we see how those can be multiplied, the future actually looks brighter than darker. Invention of people is going to take us through to a better future. I absolutely believe that.
You never want to be alone in your field. You need the community that understands you. It really makes it a lot easier when you understand other people are in it with you, right?
It's a good occupation if you don't mind a bit of stress, but you're not going to get rich over it unless you sell the farm. And that's something that we don't want to do.
It's different and it's challenging, but it's what we like. Wouldn't change it. Farmers don't retire, they die. And that's what I will maintain. They don't ever quit. So even if the cows weren't here, it's retiring from dairy farming into something else, basically, right?
I don't know what else I'd do if I wasn't here. It's all I've known, so. Dad just always had me out working with him. Then he'd take me to hockey on the weekends and softball in the summer. It's all I've ever wanted to do and all I ever have done, so works out.
It was very hard work, and very, very few of us had any farming experience.
It was mostly girls that did the work. It was men's work to begin with, but there was no men around. We thought we were going to be really free. No chaperones. We were wrong.
It was a wake-up call of what women could do. They really worked, and they were helping with the war.
No one had ever heard of the farmerettes, and I think that's rather sad. Don't you?
I enjoy being outdoors and learning about agriculture and the people that produce that food, I guess. I really like this plant. Ooh, there's an interesting insect on it. I was actually born in Victoria Hospital in London, Ontario. I spent my childhood here in Exeter. The house was built the same year as my father was born, 1898. It's way too big for me, but here I am. I'm filling it up with paper and books and research. It's messy, but I know where things are. After my husband died, I was going through photographs. I came across a little picture that was 2 inches by 2.5 inches.
people that I didn't recognize. I thought to myself, well, these don't look like Conrad's cousins. I wonder who they are. I turned it over hoping that I was going to see people's names. But of course I didn't, because everybody knew who they were at the time and didn't feel it necessary to write the names down. But there was a clue, and it said Farmerettes about 1946. I just decided on the spur of the moment I was going to do research. I think the passion came from my father. He was in the First War. I was always eager to listen. You know, if people would come to our home and ask my dad questions and say, put on the blindfold and take that German Mauser apart and put it back together, I'd be listening to this and think, wow, this is really something what my dad can do. First week of May, he had signed up. He was looking forward to seeing his brother John. While my dad was at training camp, he read the Toronto paper and saw his brother had been killed. He was so looking forward to seeing Johnny when he got to France, but it didn't happen. But his brother is listed on the Vimy Memorial. Learning about his service and his life. Interested in how people react when they're called to action, I guess would be a good way to describe it. And when these girls were asked to volunteer, they did.
I appeal to my fellow Canadians to unite in a national effort.
In 1941, the Farmerette program began, and teenage girls in high school, aged 16, 17, and 18, were encouraged to volunteer to work on market garden farms and orchards and canning factories to help in food production because men who had been employed on farms had enlisted for military service. The call went out, and it was a desperate call.
These are the areas where the farm health problem is most acute in this country. The vegetable and fruit areas where we grow everything from celery to peaches.
How many people are in a camp?
Well, that varies from 50 to 100. Last year, we had 30 camps, and this year we're going to require 60. Without you, the crops will rot on the ground.
Good evening and welcome. What started this amazing journey was this little picture. So I did an article for a magazine called The Rural Voice. Shirley Ann read it and was moved to tears because she had worked on my in-laws' farm and she dated the man that became my brother-in-law. We've got a celebrity here with us. So there she is, beautiful as can be, in the middle. And when I met her, she had no pictures. And then last year, my sister-in-law, Mary Ellen, and who's on the right, said, I found a picture. Shirley Ann is in the picture. And she said she doesn't remember dressing like that. Her daughter said, oh, Mom, you look cute. And her son said, Mom, you look like a tart.
You feel like a movie star? I don't know how the idea came to me. It just popped into my head one day. I will write a letter to the editor of every newspaper I can think of, just asking any women who had been farmerettes if they would write to me.
In 1995, she put a notice in papers all over Ontario. The amazing thing was, when I said, "Do you still have the letters?" she said, "Yes, I think I do." I said, "Well, dig them out, because we're going to write a book."
They came to all the high schools in Ontario. We thought, wow, away from home, no exam, perfect, perfect. So we signed up like crazy.
I think we should go. But I don't know anything about farm work. I've never even been on a farm. Well, neither do I, but they'll teach us what to do as long as we'll work. They need everybody they can get. Well, I'll go, I guess.
Thousands of young folks like these arrived in camps wherever they were needed. These girls had come out to work in the fruit districts, where the need for help was so great that hundreds of them were released from school a month or more before the usual closing date.
Dad was very interested in military and wanted to support it in every way he could. He was an officer in the First World War.
It wasn't for patriotic issues that I went with all my friends. We went because we could get out of chemistry exam, and we would get away from the watchful eyes of our parents. So that was a big inducement, not patriotism, when you're 16 years of age.
They were not in favor of me going. People didn't do that. That's what my father always said, that girls don't do that.
So I was just 15. I wanted to go too. So my mother changed my birth certificate from 1931 to 1930, just a little stroke of a pen.
It was the Ontario Farm Service Force that organized this through the Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, Department of Labor. The YWCA was involved. 40,000 girls is what the estimate is for the ones that served from 1941 to 1952. Girls rode their bicycles from Quebec to work in the Niagara Peninsula, which seems pretty fantastic. Most people thought this is a real harebrained idea. How are you going to get girls from cities and towns in Northern Ontario, girls that have never seen a farm? How on earth is that program going to work? And the farmers were pretty doubtful as well.
So different from Thunder Bay, and of course different from Saskatchewan, where we had no trees whatsoever.
The farmers, some of them were quite grumpy, and understandably, to go and pick up a truckload of, say, 8 16-year-olds to go and harvest his fruit. It must have given him nightmares.
My understanding is that the name of the owner has been Lou Shank down through the history of the farm. And you're Patrick, you're not Lou.
I'm Louis Patrick.
Oh, okay, I thought this.
Yeah, so I'm Louis V.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's really something. That's really neat.
Pretty exciting for me, yeah.
Yeah.
For our family, but yeah. So I'm the 5th generation here at the farm.
So those are can labels. My great-grandfather owned a canning factory. And this is from 1903 and 1904. Look at the graphics, look at the wonderful colors that they used. So
Globe brand was,
the Shank brand.
Yeah. Now you have other children as well?
I have 3 children, yes. 2 of them are in the business. The smartest one of the 3 is not. I'm kidding. your book, we see the barn and some of the greenhouses and some of the fields.
This was where the Farmerette story really began. It was Pioneer Camp, 1st Brigade was here. To be here with both of you is a special moment, a really special moment.
They stayed in a tent from the 1st of May until the middle of September at this farm. It's cold here in May. It was hard work. And I always find it interesting that they look back and think of all the fun that they had. So this greenhouse is 1934. You had vegetable transplants in here. They grew tomatoes in this particular house. They did everything. You name a vegetable, they did carrots and celery and cabbage.
I don't know if it was here or not, but the girls talked about they had nail polish, and if the tomatoes were the color of the nail polish the girls were wearing, they knew that it was okay to pick them. Have you heard that story?
I haven't heard that story. Yeah. I haven't heard that story at all.
All the different fruits, whether it was peaches, apples, plums, pears, cherries, sweet cherries, sour cherries, everything had a season, and it might last 2 weeks, it might last a month.
The first one is asparagus. We were just set on the edge of the field. We each had our own row, and we just went along cutting asparagus endlessly.
If there was one vegetable I did not like was asparagus. So on our first meal, I was starving. We get sitting down at the table. I'm looking forward to our meal, and the first course is asparagus. So I declined that, and we don't eat that. So the next course was creamed asparagus on toast. By this time, I could have eaten a dead shoe, I'll tell you. I have to say, my favorite vegetable today is asparagus. I love it.
They had to eat their breakfast, get their lunch made, and be ready when the farmer came to pick them up. He arrived with a flatbed trailer behind a tractor, or with a doodle bug, or they piled into trucks and just stood up and hung on to the wooden railings on the back of a pickup truck.
And then it was time to pick strawberries. So we picked strawberries for about 3 weeks. Well, you got pretty sore and tired. You were down on the ground for 4 hours or 8 hours picking strawberries.
I'm not sure I ever thought about where strawberries came from or how they grew, but I sure found out fast.
When you came across a ripe strawberry, it was just such a joy because they're shiny when they're fresh. I thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and so did the other girls.
After those types of crops, then there was, of course, there was the onions. My co-author, Shirley Ann English, she weeded the onions, she pulled the onions out to lay them on the field to dry. She knew what a miserable job it was day after day to stand at those tables and rub those onions, and the dust and the dirt and the onion skins flying up into her, every crevice of her body.
I had been sent to a place called Bedford. And my first sight of this field, I thought it went on forever. It was so long. I thought, we'll never be able to do anything here. So the farmer said, "You're going to weed this field." And we all just said, "Okay." And we said, "How do you weed a field?" Well, you get down on your hands and knees, you straddle one row, the middle row, and you do 3 rows at once. So we did. And it didn't take us that long, actually, to get used to the work, even though we'd never done it before. Long time since I was a farmerette. God, that's 72 years ago. That's a long time. Here I am.
Yeah, so you got your hat.
I have my hat.
You got boots, you got your denims on. You're all set to work in the onions.
I am.
Bedford, here we come.
Well, they're pretty thin right here.
Whoa! There she goes. You're a good sport, Shirley Ann. 72 years later, you still know onions.
Getting up will be the hard part. Oh, I found a weed, so I'm going to weed here.
Okay, you weed. Get rid of that
I think it's an old carrot.
Wild carrot.
I can't get it up, but there you go.
The size of the onion that you would have been harvesting in August.
Yes.
And that's only you would grab a clump of them.
Yeah.
Your hands would be full. You would be bending over to get good leverage.
And then you
yank back,
turn.
and then lay them flat.
Yep.
And that's how it would work. That was the step that was going to happen in August, while there were still farmerettes to help.
We had a shower, of course, and there were lots of lemons to get the onion smell off our fingers. They went through a lot of lemons.
Peppermint was grown. It had to be hoed and then harvested like hay. Put in a big vat and then pressure applied to distill it. And the oil was taken to Wrigley's in Toronto.
The oil was so strong that if you dipped a pin in it, a straight pin, and put it on your tongue, it would burn your tongue. It was that strong. To this day, I love peppermint. But when we go back to the home at night, everybody could tell where we'd been working. We either smelled like peppermint or onions.
The program was especially popular in southwestern Ontario because that's where the majority of the market gardens were, and the orchards. The Niagara Peninsula is known for the orchards and the vineyards and the canning factories.